Greeting to all of you. Funtao is pleased to always accompany you and watching the news bulletin on 24 Hours channel. Our bulletin provides the latest and most accurate news about the social and political situations, as well as the latest information news that occur during the day. Now, let's take a look at the main information.
Ladies and gentlemen, according to China Weather Network, around 22:20 on Monday, Typhoon Talon made landfall at Nantan Island, Zhanjiang City, Guangdong Province, with a typhoon-level wind force. It became the first typhoon to make landfall in China this year, breaking a more than 1-month-long period without typhoon impacts in China with just one swoop. Affected by Talon, heavy rain poured down on Zhanjiang, Guangdong, and some urban areas experienced severe flooding. When Talon made landfall, the maximum wind force near the center was 13.38 meters per second, and the minimum air pressure at the center was 965 HPA. Nicout Ran, a senior engineer at the China Meteorological Administration's Marine and Typhoon Forecasting Center, said, "The main characteristic of this landfalling typhoon is the strengthening of the wind in the offshore area and its maximum intensity during the landfall. However, after the landfall, its strength will rapidly weaken, and the impact of both wind and rain will also lessen. As Talon moves westward and northward after the landfall, the rain area will gradually move westward, reaching eastern Yunnan. Therefore, relatively speaking, the scope of the next heavy rain will be wider than the area affected by strong winds. It is predicted that after making landfall, Talon will move into the Gulf of Tonkin and may make landfall again on the coast of Guangxi." The China Meteorological Administration continues to issue orange typhoon warning and a yellow rainstorm warning at 1800 hours. It is forecasted that there will be heavy to very heavy rain in some areas of Guangdong, Guangxi, most of Hainan Island, southeastern Fujian, southern Hubei, southeastern Hunan, including southwestern Guangdong, southern Guangxi, and northern Hainan Island. Some areas will experience heavy thunderstorms, and other places will have very heavy thunderstorms. Due to Talon's impact, heavy rain occurred in some areas of Jiangsu and Zhejiang, with many roads having damaged roofs and pedestrians getting trapped on the road. Maritime, railway, and other industries along the southern coast of China have promptly suspended operations, and many scenic spots have temporarily closed. Among them, all lines from Guangzhou to North Sea to the Wuzhuzhou Island have been suspended, and Wuzhuzhou Island has evacuated about 18,800 passengers since the 16th. In addition, Tianhu Palace in Nansha, Guangzhou, Demisha Beach in Shenzhen, Huizhou Turtle Bay, China's first Maldives beach, and many other scenic spots have issued temporary closure notices, and the time for resumption will be determined. According to China Weather Network, Talon's appearance could be described as late. The synthesis of large-scale data on typhoons from 1949 to 2022 shows that the first typhoon to make landfall in China is mostly from July to August, with the most frequent landfalls in late July. Talon's landfall time is about 20 days later than the average time of the first typhoon of the year. Affected by Typhoon Talon, Guangdong and the western coastal areas of Guangdong have experienced strong winds and heavy rain over the past 2 days. According to domestic media Shaoxiang Morning News, a group of tourists from Shenzhen traveled to Dongguan and encountered a strong typhoon after getting off the bus. Dear audience, according to the China Weather Network, at around 22:20 on Monday, Typhoon Talon made landfall on the coast of Nantan Island, Zhanjiang City, Guangdong Province, with a typhoon-level wind force, becoming the first typhoon to make landfall in China this year, breaking a more than 1-month-long period without typhoon impacts in China with just one swoop. A group of people couldn't move an inch and could only squat on the ground holding umbrellas for about 10 minutes. The video showed a very embarrassing scene. The person who filmed the video said that the group got off the bus under clear skies, but it started pouring about 10 minutes later, and in the end, they were all soaking wet. After the rain stopped, they sat on the road and wrung out their clothes. Some netizens laughed and said that the main purpose was to accompany each other, getting wet together and holding umbrellas just to respect the rain. Some others said that if it's light rain, there's no need to use an umbrella, but it's useless in heavy rain. According to officials from Dongguan City, earlier, Due to the influence of Typhoon Talim, the wind in Dongguan increased to level 7 to level 8 near the coast and plateau, and level 9 to level 10 in other areas. From 16 to 18 o'clock, there was heavy to very heavy rain and localized heavy rain, with thunderstorms accompanying the rain. Since yesterday afternoon, there will be high astronomical tides ranging from 60–150 centimeters along the Dongguan coastline. Some tide stations in Dongguan may experience super warning water levels today. Affected by Talim, many places in China will experience heavy rain, and in some areas, it may be very heavy rain. The main rivers in 4 provinces, namely Hainan, Guangdong, Guangxi, and Yan'an, will flood. Among them, the Nandu River in Hainan and the Tajiang, Nanliu River, Beiluan River, Fengtan River, and other rivers in Guangxi may exceed the warning levels. At 8 o'clock yesterday evening, the Yangtze River Defense Command raised its emergency response level from level 4 to level 3 to control flooding and typhoon prevention, and the Guangdong Commission also raised its emergency response level from level 4 to level 3 for flood prevention. It is expected that today, there will be high waves of 6 to 9 meters in the northern part of the South China Sea and 2 to 4 meters in the Baoxi Strait and the central part of the South China Sea. The wave warning level in the offshore waters of the South China Sea is orange. Additionally, there will be large waves of 3 to 5 meters to extremely large waves in the coastal waters of Guangdong. Meteorological experts remind that ships traveling in the relevant sea areas of the South China Sea should avoid the areas affected by the typhoon, and maritime operators must evacuate in time before the storm. All localities should pay attention to urban and rural flood prevention, mountain floods, and geological disasters caused by heavy rain, while enhancing investigations of potential hazards such as dams, reservoirs, river embankments, and ditches. Ladies and gentlemen, the prolonged heavy rains have forced the cancellation of hundreds of flights and train services in Beijing, China. According to Xinhua News Agency, President Xi Jinping has called on top government officials to be prepared for rescue and flood control efforts. The Beijing authorities have issued an orange warning, the second highest level in China's 4-tier warning system, regarding the widespread floods caused by the continuous heavy rains. This situation may persist in some areas with precipitation reaching approximately 100 mm. Over 200 flights were cancelled at the international airport in Beijing, and a few subway stations were also closed. Social media images showed vehicles slowly moving through flooded streets, with water almost reaching the car doors. Some high-speed railway services were temporarily suspended. According to Xinhua, 13 people were reported dead and 62 others missing due to heavy rains in northern and northwestern China. Additionally, data from China's Ministry of Civil Affairs confirmed that 24 people in Hebei, Shanxi, Hubei, and Shanxi provinces have died. Hebei suffered the most severe damage with 14 deaths and 72 people missing. Some subway stations in Beijing were heavily flooded, and the West Beijing Tunnel was submerged. The capital city of China is experiencing prolonged heavy rains and hail. More than 120,000 residents in the affected provinces have been evacuated, and around 7,000 houses have been destroyed. Transportation, power, and communication have also been disrupted. Summer in China often brings heavy rain and severe storms. In 2020, Beijing experienced the heaviest rainfall in the past 60 years, resulting in at least 80 deaths. Ladies and gentlemen, the extreme weather phenomenon of El Niño, similar to that of 1997 to 1998, may lead to serious floods originating from the Yangtze River and the 2 main waterways in northeast China during the upcoming summer. Chinese scientists predict that the floods may reach Hong Kong and Macau as well. Liu Nin, the Secretary General of the National Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters and Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Water Resources, warned that the Yangtze River is likely to face severe flooding in the middle and lower reaches this year. Xinhua News Agency quoted this official's warning that the flood season has started earlier than usual. According to Liu, China is highly likely to face extreme weather due to the El Niño effect that occurred last year. In June, the rainfall in the Yangtze River is forecasted to increase by 10 to 50% compared to previous years. Some branches of the river in the lower reaches may experience a 20 to 50% increase in average rainfall. Moreover, from June to August, the entire Yangtze River basin is expected to see a 50% increase in rainfall. with the middle reaches experiencing a 50 to 80% increase. According to the Morning Post, the provinces in the Yangtze River Delta provide about 60% of China's rice and 1/5 of its cotton. However, if the floods are severe, China may have to import rice from major Asian exporters such as Thailand, Vietnam, and possibly India. A week ago, southern Chinese provinces, including Guangdong, Guangxi, Hubei, Jiangxi, and Fujian, experienced heavy rainfall, causing the water levels in many rivers to rise to alarming levels. The National Flood and Typhoon Control Agency deployed 4 special teams for rescue operations in these provinces. At that time, the water level of the Gan River, a branch of the Yangtze River in Jiangxi, exceeded the safety limit by 2.52 meters. Vice Premier of China, Wang Yang, has called on local officials at all levels to implement prevention measures to ensure the safety of residents from the risk of flooding in major rivers and reservoirs. Ladies and gentlemen, southern China is facing extensive flooding. Villages in Guangxi, Fujian, Guangdong, and other provinces and cities are submerged in water, with roads turning into rivers and vehicles being inundated. The heavy rains have caused breaches in riverbanks, leading to widespread flooding, road collapses, crop losses, and significant damages to the local population. At the same time, many areas are experiencing chaotic conditions. To assist farmers in harvesting crops, some local authorities are determined to use steel bars and stones to create a landscape of abundant harvest. In the completely flooded southern region, heavy rains continue to occur in multiple places. According to CCTV reports, as of 4 p.m., 497,000 people in 7 districts and cities in Jiangxi, including Fuzhou, Chuanzhou, Guangzhou, and other places, have been affected. The local cultivated area affected has reached 67,700 hectares, with 1,100 hectares of flowers being severely damaged. Up to now, the heavy rains have caused 44 households and 17 houses in Jiangxi to collapse, with an estimated economic loss of 520 million renminbi Chinese. Further assessment of the natural disaster situation is still needed. Since July, villages in Jiangxi, Fujian, Guangdong, and other provinces have been submerged in floods, turning roads into rivers and vehicles into waterlogged machines. Apart from Jiangxi, heavy rains have also hit many areas in Hubei, with water levels in some regions rising rapidly, leading to localized landslides. Hubei has also issued warnings of heavy rainfall in recent days, and Nanhua and other places have been affected by the dual impact of heavy rains and hail. In Tuaningia, Kuaichao, thunderstorms and hail have caused damage to flowers and vehicles, with the largest hailstones having a diameter of about 40 millimeters, breaking the record for the largest hailstones this year. In Thiuvu, Nambin, Fujian Province, continuous heavy rains over several days have caused some areas in the city to be flooded, and some road sections have experienced landslides, resulting in traffic congestion, with villagers having to urgently repair damages under the rain. Some cultivated land areas have also been flooded, causing severe losses to farmers. The headquarters of the flood and drought control in the city has implemented a level 2 emergency response for storms and floods. Furthermore, heavy rains have also occurred in various locations in Guangdong. Among them, heavy rains began appearing in several towns in Kongga District, Guangzhou City. The amount of rainfall has reached over 80 millimeters per hour, accompanied by strong winds of up to level 8 to level 9. Similarly, the city of Danyuan is also experiencing heavy rainfall. In the town of Kangdu, Fogan County, the meteorological agency recorded an accumulated rainfall of nearly 90 millimeters in 1 hour. The local area issued a red storm warning. The heavy rains have caused river water levels to rise, resulting in small landslides on some national highways. Guangdong is experiencing heavy rains and a severe typhoon. Urban areas such as Shenzhen, Dongguan, and Yangjiang have suffered severe damages. According to the forecast from the China Central Meteorological Observatory, from the 18th to the 19th, heavy to very heavy rains are expected in some areas in southern Guangxi, southwestern Guangdong, and Hainan Island, with places in northern central Guangxi and northern Guangdong experiencing heavy to very heavy rains. Ladies and gentlemen, mainland China has entered the flood season, with landslides and floods continuously reported in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River since the beginning of July. after a landslide in Chongqing that claimed nearly 20 lives. Natural disasters have also been reported in Hubei, although there have been very few reports on the mainland. In the landslide in the mountainous region of Hubei, 9 people were reported missing, according to reports from mainland media, around 4 p.m. Local time, a landslide occurred on a mountaintop in Anhaxen village, Tronglibin town, Autonomous County Enji and Ojia, Engibuan City, Hubei province. According to officials, the landslide in Anhaxen village slid towards a construction site in the middle of the Nada-Laifeng Expressway, causing injuries and communication loss. Among the 5 trapped individuals rescued, 1 person was severely injured and is still being treated, while the remaining 4 are not in life-threatening conditions. 9 people from 8 households in the area are still missing. Since July, Sichuan, Chongqing, Hubei, and the Yangtze River Basin on the Chinese mainland have experienced heavy rainfall, resulting in disasters such as landslides and floods. On July 15th, Xinhua reported that Chinese President Xi Jinping issued an important directive on flood control and natural disaster relief, emphasizing comprehensive rescue and relief efforts. President Xi Jinping stated that in recent days, Chongqing and other places have experienced heavy rains, with some rivers reaching flood levels, causing geological disasters such as floods and landslides, resulting in severe casualties and property losses. According to a special conference on midsummer weather held in July-August organized by the Climate Center of the China National Meteorological Administration recently, it is estimated that this year's midsummer climate on the mainland will be more abnormal, with more extreme weather and climate events, including regular heavy rains and floods, high temperatures, heat waves, and natural disasters. The meeting also predicted that the catchment areas of the Tongha River, the Liaohe River, the eastern part of the Hohe River Basin, the lower reaches of the Yangtze River Basin, the Taihu Basin, and the Yangtze River Basin are expected to receive more rainfall, about 20% more than normal in the same period in previous years, which may lead to major floods. According to CCTV News, heavy rains in Trincan have caused disasters in 36 towns, villages, and streets, including in Gokyu, Tronglang, and Bokduong in Vanshao District, resulting in nearly 20 deaths and 5 people missing due to the natural calamities. The Trincan City's Water Management Agency stated that Trincan has experienced the highest rainfall in this year's flood season in recent days, and as of 8 a.m., the water level of 11 rivers has exceeded the warning level and the safety threshold. Currently, the water level has gone below the warning level. Previously, many rivers in Trincan such as Zhongtan, Kwaijiang, Thuongkit, Vanshao, and others had experienced super alert floods and ensured safety. There were reports of a level 1 flood on the Kwaijiang River in 2023, causing floods and geological disasters in Vanshao district of Trincan and large-scale collapses of slopes in 2 sections of roads in Beijing district. The Emergency Management Department of Vanshao district in Trincan City reported that Vanshao district had suffered heavy rains. As of 10 a.m., the rain had caused floods and landslides in 36 towns, villages, and streets in Vanshao district, including in Gokyu, Tronglang, and Bokduong. About 37,226 people were affected by the natural disaster, 11,578 were urgently evacuated, and 779 were relocated urgently. Nearly 20 people died, and 5 others were reported missing. Additionally, the flooding in Vanshao County, Trincan, also affected 1,949. 96 hectares of crops and caused 138 houses of 50 households to collapse. The direct economic losses in the entire region reach 2.785 million NDD. Moreover, Sichuan, Hubei, and the Yangtze River Basin also experienced heavy rains in recent days. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of China are suffering in the plight of floods and heavy rains. Numerous villages in Henan, China, are still isolated in the water due to the catastrophic flood that occurs once every 1,000 years, and thousands of people are still desperately waiting for rescue. Trongvan is sitting on the roof with 2 young children in his arms. The flood water has submerged the entire village, and Trongvan decided to swim out. People in the downstream village of Bihui District, Tanwang City, Henan Province, are waiting in agony to be rescued after the historic flood swept through the province. 56 people have died, and the village is almost cut off from the outside world by the floodwater. Trong Van managed to swim outside the village, wearing only a pair of shorts. He took the instant noodles that a relative brought for relief and started eating them. This is his first meal in 2 days. "I want to find a kayak and go back home to pick up my family," Trong Van said. The only road leading to the village of Hanyan is submerged in high-flood water beyond Trong Van's head. The rescue teams have not been able to evacuate everyone yet, as they have just gained access to the village. Many people still feel overwhelmed. Due to limited rescue resources, trucks and kayaks have been deployed to evacuate children and the elderly first, while thousands of villagers sit waiting in despair because of the ongoing flood. Similar scenes have appeared in many other areas in Hanam after the horrific flood this week. At least 7 reservoirs overflowed, and water flowed out of the irrigation canals into the Ingai River, submerging villages in the lower reaches. Before the horrifying flood hit, Ong Trong Van never thought she would be in a life-threatening situation because of the rain. Her one-story house in Nam Kwandon village, Hoi Wei district, 26 kilometers from Tanwang, is surrounded by specialized agricultural lands. However, the 34-year-old woman and her 1-year-old son couldn't sleep due to the loud sound of heavy rain. She also paid close attention to warning signals from the local authorities through the loudspeaker. At 3 a.m., water started to flood Ong's house, quickly rising to her ankles. 3 hours later, when she and her husband carried their child to escape outside, the familiar village before her turned into a terrifying scene. The water was up to my waist. I had to take my child to a relative's 2-story house. That was the only way he could be safe. It took her an entire hour to travel the 200-meter distance out of the village. Normally, it only takes me a few minutes, Ong Trong Van recalled. Tanwang recorded 907 millimeters of rainfall, a record high in history, with the peak rainfall in 1 hour reaching 149.9 millimeters. With limited rescue resources, children and the elderly were given priority. Therefore, many people had to climb onto their rooftops and wait for assistance. Ong estimated that about 2,000 people were stranded in Nam Kwandon village. The village had never been flooded before, and the residents couldn't anticipate such a development. The historic flood that occurs once every 1,000 years in Hanam severely affected 3 million people, with cities and villages submerged in water, roads destroyed, and landslides occurring. During an interview with SCMP, Ong Trong Van stood for hours on the road near her village, which had turned into an isolated island due to the floodwater. Van hadn't eaten anything for many hours. However, she considered herself lucky because her family was safe. Many others had lost contact during the horrific flood. A resident named Kintu said her grandparents and others living in Phong Quan district of Tanwang were trapped in their homes with no news. That concludes today's news report. Please leave any contributions in the comments section. If you found this helpful, give us a like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your attention and see you again.
We sincerely thank you all for your attention and viewership. Please like, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell to receive the fastest and most accurate news update from 24 Hours channel. Goodbye and see you in the next video.